Hey everyone, if you're a foreigner moving to Spain, or maybe you're already there and hunting for a new place, dealing with a whole new legal system can feel, well, totally overwhelming. You're probably asking yourself, wait, do I even have the same rights as a local? Can my landlord just charge me whatever they want for a deposit? What actually happens if things go south financially? Today, we're diving into this explainer to give you a highly practical, no-nonsense guide to your rights as a foreign tenant in Spain. We're cutting out all the dense legal jargon and focusing on the exact hard facts that protect you, so you can sign that lease with absolute confidence. Let's get right into it. Here is our practical roadmap for today. Step 1 is your equal rights. Step 2 covers deposits and rent. Step 3 is zonas tensionadas explained. Step 4 goes over eviction protections. And we'll wrap it all up with a checklist and legal disclaimer.
All right, step 1, your equal rights.
Before we even touch on money or contracts, let's take a big sigh of relief. To know your rights, you really just need to know one acronym, LAU. That stands for the Ley de Arrendamientos Urbanos, which is Spain's Tenancy Act. That law, along with the 2023 Housing Rights Act, basically dictates the rules of your rental contract. And here is the absolute best part. The LAU literally does not care about your nationality or your residency status when it comes to signing a lease for your main home. Your contract protects you exactly the same way it protects someone born and raised in Madrid or Barcelona.
Seriously? If we look straight at Article 6 of Law 12/2023, it literally says, all persons have the right to the use and enjoyment of decent and adequate housing. That perfectly sums up how Spanish law works here. Your protections are grounded in the fundamental human right to housing. It applies equally to everyone, completely regardless of what passport you're holding.
Moving right along to step 2, deposits and rent. So, now that we know we're on equal footing, let's talk about the financial side of things and how you can protect your hard-earned cash from day one. When you go to sign a lease in Spain, you are 100% going to see this word, fianza. A fianza is basically the mandatory legal deposit your landlord has to collect. It's governed directly by Article 36 of the LAU. You'll see this specific term written right into your contract, so definitely lock that one in your memory. Now here's the absolute most critical thing to remember about the fianza. The magic number is 1. Under the law, a landlord can only ask for a maximum of exactly 1 month's rent as a fianza for a habitual residence. Not 2 months, not 3, just 1. We really need to contrast this standard housing rule against other types of leases, just to make sure no one pulls a fast one on you. For a habitual residence, your everyday home, it's a 1-month maximum fianza. But for non-residential use, like if you are renting a commercial storefront or an office space, the law actually allows a 2-month maximum. So make absolutely sure your landlord isn't trying to subtly apply commercial rules to your apartment. Now, look, sometimes a landlord might want a little extra security, especially if you're a foreigner who doesn't have a local Spanish payroll history yet. The law does allow them to ask for additional voluntary guarantees, like a surety or some sort of rent insurance. But don't worry, there's a strict cap here too. Under Article 36.5 of the LAU, for a standard contract up to 5 years, any extra guarantees absolutely cannot exceed the equivalent of 2 further months of rent. That is the hard limit. So what happens when it's time to pack up and move out? Let's walk through the exact timeline. First, you, the tenant, hand back the keys. Boom, the clock starts. The landlord then has a strict legal deadline of exactly 1 month to return your fianza. And if they drag their feet, well, under Article 36.4 of the LAU, the landlord automatically owes you legal interest on whatever amount they haven't returned. They definitely can't just sit on your money indefinitely. Also, while you're actually living there, landlords can't just hike up your rent whenever they feel like it. Under Article 18 of the LAU, rent can only be updated once a year and only on the actual anniversary date of your contract. If your lease mentions a rent update but doesn't actually specify which economic index to use, the law defaults to the Competitiveness Guarantee Index, or IGC, which is legally capped at the Consumer Price Index. All right, on to Step 3, Zonas Tensionadas explained. Okay, we're shifting gears from national rules to some really interesting regional ones that can actually make a huge difference in your monthly rent. Have you heard of a zona tensionada? That translates to a tension residential market zone. These are specific designated areas where the government steps in because they've decided there just isn't enough affordable housing available. When an area gets the special label, it triggers mechanisms that actually force certain landlords to legally cap their rent increases based on an official government index. But I need you to listen to me very closely on this one, because it's a massive misconception. Zonas tensionadas do not apply everywhere in Spain. Seriously, do not assume you have this protection nationwide. This rule varies entirely by region. You've got to actively check your specific Comunidad Autónoma's local housing portal to see if your exact municipality or neighborhood is actually on their current list. So, who actually gets forced to cap their rent in these tension zones? That introduces us to another great Spanish term, gran tenedor, basically a large landlord. Legally speaking, under Article 3.k of Law 12/2023, this is any person or company that owns more than 10 urban residential properties or over 1,500 square meters of residential space. But get this, if you live in a declared zona tensionada, regional governments can actually lower that threshold. They can treat anyone with just 5 or more properties as a gran tenedor, forcing them to follow those strict rent caps. Now for step 4, eviction protections. This is our final main section, and we're looking at worst-case financial scenarios and the real legal buffers that exist if you fall on hard times. Look, if a tenant stops paying rent, they can obviously face eviction, but thanks to the Civil Procedure Act and the housing law, courts can actually hit pause on an eviction if you can officially prove economic vulnerability. Let's break that down. If you're an individual tenant dealing with an individual landlord, the court can suspend the eviction enforcement for 2 months. But if your landlord is a legal entity like a corporation or a company, that suspension extends to 4 months, giving you crucial time to get back on your feet and find alternative housing. And if your landlord happens to be one of those large landlords, a gran tenedor, there's an extra mandatory hurdle for them. They cannot just sprint straight to eviction court. The law literally forces them to attempt formal conciliation or mediation with you before the eviction process can even begin to move forward. Now, I need to be completely serious with you for a second. Know your rights, absolutely, but do not play lawyer. If you ever find yourself facing an eviction or any kind of court proceedings, you must seek out professional legal advice. This explainer is just a navigator to help you understand the landscape. It is absolutely not procedural or litigation advice. Never, ever try to self-represent or use an explainer video as a guide on how to act in a courtroom. Always hire a local professional. Okay, let's wrap this up with our checklist and legal disclaimer. I highly, highly recommend you grab a screenshot of this right now. This is your ultimate empowerment checklist before you sign anything. Ready? Fianza amount, strictly a 1-month maximum for a home. Fianza return deadline, exactly 1 month from the day you hand back those keys. Rent updates, only once a year on the anniversary date. Zona tensionada, a tension market zone, but remember, you have to check your regional portal. And finally, gran tenedor, a large landlord with 10 or more properties, or just 5 if you're in one of those tension zones. So, armed with these strict legal boundaries, the whole fear of renting in a foreign country should be fading away, right? You know your rights are exactly equal, you know what a landlord can and cannot charge you for a deposit, and you even know the local legal vocabulary. Before you head out, just a quick reminder, this explainer provides informational guidance only, based strictly on the Spanish laws we covered today. It is not legal advice. Always verify things with official government sources and talk to a legal professional about your specific case. So, now that you're armed with all this knowledge, how are you going to take control, check out your local regional portals, and confidently navigate your next rental agreement in Spain?
That was a quick overview. On our website you'll find step-by-step guides to many procedures, the padrón, the health card, the NIE, the TIE, legalization, and more. The link is in the description. And if you get stuck, message our Telegram bot. We'll walk you through for free, step by step.